Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. Me, male 27, and my fiance, female 30, have been together for almost 3 years. As she's older and has already entered her 30s, she kept on complaining about how she's crossing her age of getting married and kept on annoying me for a whole month for getting engaged and stuff. For me, marriage is the last thing I wanted right now. I am completely focused on my career and I really enjoy working nonstop most of the time. So I wasn't really in this whole idea of getting married. I love her. She's the perfect girl I would ever want. She's beautiful, has a good sense of fashion, our political opinions match, and she has an amazing career for her. She's really good at finance and doesn't waste money as much as women do these days. She has a good sense in differentiating between what she needs and wants. She's really understanding, does support me in every way she can, and understands my priorities and boundaries. So I didn't want to lose her, scared that I won't get anyone else better than her or at her par. So I complied and one day proposed to her during one of our date nights. I didn't know that getting a ring held so much meaning to her. She was literally the happiest and started crying. Ever since that day, she hasn't shut up about that ring and us being engaged. I mean, it didn't really change anything between us except the tag that we had. She still acted as if we were about to get married the next day, which we definitely weren't. I am not the most romantic guy on the planet. I value partnership. And after 2 months of engagement, she and her whole family started annoying me again. This time she wants to get married. My plan was to get her the ring, make it official, and stay engaged for the next year or two. I am just into getting married right now, and no way I can take such a big responsibility this young. Maybe in 2 years I would learn how to balance my family life and work, then it would be more harmonious between her and me. Marriage changes everything. It brings more responsibility to me, especially. Look, it doesn't matter how the concept of feminism works, but us men have it more difficult in these sectors. We have to be the man and get our homes going, and no one gives us crap about how we feel or how miserable we are. We have to be the strong one in everything, or the whole house collapses. And on the bigger picture, once married, she will also start about having kids and all of which I don't see myself having for at least the next 5 years. To raise another human being, you have to provide the best you can so that they can at least have a good life with you. That's a lot of work. And I am just focused on creating resources for enjoying that life to the fullest. But my fiance and her family are stubborn about us getting married and won't take no for an answer. They have made it seem like my no means to try harder to them. Even after repeated refusal, they didn't stop and started having my parents convince me to give in and get married to her, and that worked. But I asked for at least 3 months because I wanted some time to adjust and stuff. My fiance's family is huge. We were both from different cultures, and I'm not used to a lot of people in one family, so that was a really big thing to adjust into. So for the first step, we decided to meet with everyone as they were coming over to her house because of some cultural festivals they celebrate. While hanging out with them, her cousins asked about my profession. I told them I worked as an investor as well in the tech sector. They were impressed and made a remark on how their sister secured a big bag and is set for the rest of her life. That didn't sit right with me. But I brushed it off as soon as I heard that because I knew my fiance was better than some tricky gold digger. Then, after they all left for their hotel, we decided to crash at my in-laws' house for that night and not stress ourselves with driving a long distance, that too at night, because there was a lot of gun violence and gang fights happening in that area. At night, while discussing about each other's whereabouts, my mother-in-law brought up the topic of marriage and how much we planned about it. At that time, honestly, I didn't actually think much about it and said that we have it all figured out. Turns out we didn't when she asked me about our finance strategy. I mean, that was a really personal question to ask, but she had a point. I mean, I love her and trust her and expect her to stay by my side till the end. But what if she leaves? What if she does something unforgivable and I have to pay for it? She snapped me back and told me that we should sign a prenup because that was a mistake that she made while being married to her previous lover and had to lose a lot due to that. And I thought that was a really good idea and I would have proceeded with that. But things got suspicious when I didn't even know how much she actually earns, and whenever I tried to bring up this topic, she would say she makes as much as me, but would never make it clear or give me an estimate. I don't want to have any loss through this marriage if it ends up in an ugly divorce. She is a nurse, so I know she makes really good money, but I doubt it to be as much as I make. This is going to sound weird, but before we never discussed finance. We didn't live together, and this marriage thing is proceeding really quickly, and I'm busy with work. So I keep messing up the important things here and there. Through all these, she won't give me a clear answer, but her mother and even her whole family would force all the time to sign a prenup as soon as possible because our marriage date was nearing. I got really tired of these games and stuff. And during a family lunch, I lost my temper and yelled at everyone about how they need to stop pressuring me into decisions that I don't want to make or take. Then it fired back at me. My fiance started yelling back how this is the exact reason why she needs to sign a prenup. She told me she doesn't trust me fully, and what if I would cheat, and said all the nonsensical crap of the world, and tried to show how the prenup was really necessary and how she deserved the half compensation because I don't give her enough attention and time. So I need to pay for making it up to her. We kept on having fights, but every time it solved it because we wanted to save our relationship. And suddenly one day they stopped talking about it because they could feel I was beyond annoyed at this topic, and it was affecting my work so much. One day I came home from work and tried talking and sorting out everything, but by then they all have turned a whole 180 on me and started being against it. That was shocking to me, but for some time it felt nice. Then I got to know what actually happened. My fiance recently received a huge amount of inheritance from her father. Her father and mother were divorced, and as the only child of her father, she received a lot from him. Her assets are now more than me, and she knows I won't settle for anything except 50-50. So she and her family turned against having joint finances and signing a prenup. This irked me the wrong way. Okay, let me explain it properly. The condition stood our assets would be divided equally and then later passed down equally to our kids, equally from both of our sides. When she didn't have the inheritance, my money and the amount I would lose would be bigger, and she would gain more. The more I lose, the more she'll gain. But now she had more to lose. So she backed off on the whole prenup thing and made it clear she wanted everything to be separate. The betrayal I felt through this. In the end, she wants to have the bigger portion. She wants to take more from the marriage anyhow. If we have kids, then I would be obliged to pay for them, and she would get that money too. So from everywhere, I am the victim, and this is what their plan was from the very start. They just wanted me for my money, and beyond that, they didn't have any business with me. I don't know their proper motive behind this, but I am sure of the actions and consequences they plotted against me. My head hurts from all these dramas that have been going on, honestly. I will update soon when I'm done planning my next step. I made her sit and talk to me and explain the whole math. She denied that it wasn't her motive. She said that she didn't want to be financially put down by me, so she called off the prenup, which I know makes no valid reasoning, so I gave her the option that we either go with the 50-50 prenup condition or break it off. She started crying and said how mean I was to even put her in this kind of condition. I made it clear that it hurts me too, but it is about both our lives, so yeah, no way we can take this topic lightly and get over with it. She said no to prenup. I informed her that we were done, took my ring back and broke it off with her because, yeah, I need to see the bigger picture. I would be focusing on myself for a while and taking time off from here. It's been 6 months since we broke up, and yeah, I handled it pretty well. I missed her for the first month, then it got better. She tried fixing this, but the trust was just completely gone for me, and I didn't take any advances on her and shut her out. I worked on a new startup and went to therapy to solve this problem of it being difficult for me to show vulnerability. I am taking therapy. Not a lot has improved, so I'm just focused on work and building my life up. NTA, regardless of his attitude, he didn't do anything wrong. Better be alone than being manipulated and taken advantage of. Well, I don't think he should have been in a relationship in the first place. He just sounds closed and cold. I'm a 34-year-old female, and I live with my wife, 40 female, Sue, and our kids, 3 female, 6 female, and 11 male. Our previous sitter chose to follow a different career path, which led us to finding a new one, to which my friend suggested a place she used. We used it and found a woman, 25 female, named Sharon. We thought she was perfect, especially since she also had experience taking care of autistic children. Our son is autistic. We screened her, background check, etc., and she passed. I have to explain one thing, though. Sue and I have a room off of our own that's for us only, and it has stuff in there not meant for children. The kids are not allowed in our bedroom unless we are there, and we do not keep anything in there they might want. We made it extremely clear to Sharon not to let our kids in our room. After maybe 2 days of babysitting, I got a panicked call from her saying my 6-year-old locked the 3-year-old in our closet and our son wouldn't stop screaming. When I came home, Sharon was outside by herself. My son was in his room with the door shut, still screaming. And 6-year-old was by the closet door crying along with my 3-year-old crying on the other side of the door. The door's lock was one of those button locks in the center of the door handle, which was visible. It took me a minute to get my kids under control, but when I finally did, Sharon was looking at me with disgust. I guess while I was with my kids, she decided to look into the room my child was in. She berated me about how she was already skeptical of watching kids with two moms, and this just proved her right because of what we were into and exposing our kids to. This lasted maybe 10 minutes before Sue came in and forced her to leave. When everything finally settled down, we checked our nanny cams. We were able to see Sharon snuggled up with a blanket on the couch and our kids doing whatever. Then we saw our daughters going into our room and 6-year-old locking 3-year-old in. Then 11-year-old came in and started screaming because 6-year-old is crying and panicking. Then, after some time, Sharon decided to see what's wrong. She's now panicked and beating on the door. Once again, it's a button lock in full view. After maybe a few minutes, she takes our son to his room and left him. Then tries for the door again before going outside and calling us. We sent that to the video to the right people and Sharon got in trouble and blacklisted. Currently, we are receiving a lot of hate because I guess she was a good Christian woman who didn't deserve that and we were overreacting. NTA, she wasn't doing her job, watching your kids. That's why she's blacklisted. What you do in your private life is no one's business. Thinking OP and wife should have a lock on the door that they do not want young children to enter. There are 3 kids. Even if the babysitter was doing a great job or simply had to go to the bathroom, one or both of the little ones could have snuck in the bedroom, not necessarily to lock each other in, but just because it's fun to explore the forbidden place. If the kids were playing in the room they weren't supposed to go in, it would be normal for the babysitter to go in and get them out, seeing whatever it was that OP wouldn't want them to see. Who knows how many times the old babysitter had to pull the kids out of that room, but just didn't mention it to OP. Of course, the babysitter is the biggest AH from not watching the kids well, for snooping and especially for saying homophobic things to OP. My fiancé, 36 male, and I, 33 female, have been engaged for 4 years and together for 6. Both have a child, 12, 16, from a previous relationship. He recently had a health scare, diagnosed with pre-diabetes. Father died from diabetic complications a few years ago. Therefore, he went vegan like a year ago. Our family has fully supported his change. We even bought another fridge to keep his food in. He now tries to inflict his lifestyle on us. It's not like we haven't tried any of his meals before. It's just not our choice. Anytime now we eat something he disagrees with, he goes into his lecture about how it's not good for your body and what it consists of and what we need to change. I'm talking about literally every time. I've tried to be understanding because he's dealing with something that took his father. But every time? Imagine you're about to eat a delicious piece of chocolate cake. I kid you not. He will go into how many calories you're about to eat and what it's going to do to your body, especially when it's dealing with something sugary. A nice juicy steak? Red meat is the devil. A piece of fried chicken? Grease is going to seep out of your pores. Our kids avoid being around him now when they're about to eat a snack of some sort. I've tried to talk to him about how he's making everyone uncomfortable in the house to eat around him, but he brushes it off and calls it a guilty meat eater complaint. He said that if we were eating right, we wouldn't feel guilty about what he says. For the last couple of months, he's been, paranoid, if you want to call it. He thinks someone is messing with his food, claims that it tastes funny, accused me or one of the kids of touching the settings on it, which is possible, but I highly doubt it's happened, since neither of our kids are vegan. He and I are the only that goes in and out of the fridge the most. The only time they even go in the fridge is if one of us asks them to hand us something out of it. A few nights ago, I cooked dinner as usual, only this time I was accused of contaminating his food with meat drippings. I was accused of trying to revert him back to a meat eater, that I was endangering his health. He demanded to know what skillets I used. I've always cooked our meals in different pots and pans just to avoid a situation of such. I have a sister that's vegan, so it's not my first rodeo. Tired of accusations, I told him from now on he can cook his own dinner. That I'm tired of him trying to inflict his lifestyle on us. That just because he changed his eating lifestyle doesn't mean he gets to force it on us. He told me that I was being selfish, that I was unsupportive, and that I want to see him fail. I told him that's not true, but if he was going to act this way, then it's best he cooks his own food, and I'm not budging on the matter. He's been sleeping on the couch since, refusing to talk to me. NTA at all, but I would be very worried about his mental health. NTA. By the sounds of it, he's headed towards a mental breakdown or is in a heightened state of paranoia. Accusing someone of tampering with their food isn't a common thing to say to someone. I would suggest he sees a doctor. Make sure he's getting all the nutrition he needs from his vegan food and that he's not acting this way because something in his body is not functioning properly due to his diet. Also, a psychologist seems a good idea as well. Maybe this paranoia is caused by some underlying emotional issue he's not talking about. And this is how it's coming out. All in all, it sounds like he needs the kind of help which you aren't able to provide.